What's up, guys? It is Carly here, bringing you your weekly dose of horror, which is the title that I came up with for this series. Yeah, that's kind of the most clever thing I could come up with, so I'm just gonna roll with it. So yeah, we are back, and today I'm going to be talking about the second movie that was up in my collection, and that is 30 Days of Night from the year 2007. So, 30 Days of Night, this is a movie that, I watched for the first time at a party. My friend was having a little party at her house, and she put this on just in the background. It was probably a Halloween party or something like that, and I was kind of just sitting there paying, in and out of attention to the film, and I didn't really remember a whole lot about it. I picked it up about a year or two ago on DVD here, and tried to rewatch it again, and I got halfway through and fell asleep, and then just never felt like going back to it, and that was kind of that. The funny thing is, I always got this movie confused with 28 Days Later. Just the titles kind of seemed similar in my head, so I always thought it was 28 Days Later that I saw at that party, but upon watching 28 Days Later, a little while later, I realized, wait, I've never seen this movie in my life, but that is just a side story there. The plot here for 30 Days of Night is you have this small town in Alaska, and they're kind of preparing for another, stream of darkness. They're very used to just going through long periods of darkness, because that just kind of is something that happens in Alaska. So the people of the town are aware of it, and they're kind of just preparing and going about their business when this group of outsiders arrives at their town and just starts terrorizing all of them, and you soon realize that these are bloodthirsty vampires, and these people are in complete danger because obviously vampires are known for coming out at night, and they're kind of just stuck in this dark atmosphere. So you have this small central group of people who are kind of hiding out and trying to figure out how to survive and possibly get rid of this threat that has come to their town. So that's what's going on in this movie. The first time I saw this movie, like I said, was at a party, and I was kind of in and out of it, and then upon rewatch, I wasn't really in it fully when I was watching it, probably because I was so tired at the time as well, hence why I fell asleep, and I just didn't feel like going back to it because it's a 2-hour long movie, just about, and I was only about halfway through it, so it was one I just didn't feel like putting back on, and I just wanted to move on to something else at the time, so just kind of put it on my shelf and forgot about it. So obviously this is an example of a movie. The reason I made this series is it's an example of a film that did need a rewatch, and upon rewatch again, I feel that I still kind of struggled to really get into this film. I was giving it my full attention, and I feel like it's one that really has to kind of grab you from the start, or else you're kind of screwed. And I also feel like it's a very character-driven type of film. You're kind of focused on this small group of people, as I said before, that are surviving in the town, and if you don't like these people, then you're kind of out of luck because they're your central group, and the vampires, they're more of just a threat. They don't really have all that much character, they're kind of speaking their own language and stuff like that. They don't speak really English or anything like that, and you're kind of reading subtitles, so you're mainly just supposed to be focused on this group of people and be kind of engaged emotionally in them and hoping that they survive, and I just don't really get too into their characters. I do like Josh Hartnett, honestly. He's the main guy that you're following. He's kind of like the sheriff of the town, and he really pulls off that just nice guy, nice young dude type of, he just kind of has that look to him, this really likable type of guy, so I do like him, but everyone else is just a little bit forgettable in my opinion. I feel like his little brother character does a pretty good job, but I don't know, I'm just not too into them. The vampires themselves, I find to be, they're just not my favorite type. They're a little over the top and a little too styled up, I guess you can say. Too polished maybe for vampires. They just got that basic pale white skin and black eyes, and it's just a little too stylized, I guess you can say, for me. It kind of makes me think of more of a teenage film than an actual horror film. You know, there's a lot of teen vampire films that came out around this time and so on. This probably came out before a lot of that stream kind of hit, but now looking back on this movie, that's all I can really think about because of how many TV series and books and movies have come out for the teen audience based on vampires, and that's really just my main issue with the way they look in this film. The atmosphere, though, that's probably my favorite part, is it's got a very dark, gloomy, depressing atmosphere. Two things I hate are the dark and the cold. I hate being cold. I don't understand how anyone would enjoy living in Alaska or choose to do that because it just seems like the most depressing thing in the world, but more power to people that do. And darkness, I don't always mind darkness. It's just sometimes it just gets me down if it's too much darkness like you got going on in this movie. So I think they do a good job with the atmosphere and kind of making it seem like a very helpless type of situation. So I did really like that about it. Like I said, it's probably my favorite parts. Overall, the story is pretty solid, I would say. It's just, like I said, I feel like you have to be really invested in the characters to really, truly get into the film, and I personally just can't get into it like a lot of other people do. I know a lot of people really enjoy this movie, and I could see why, but for me, it's just not really for me. You know, this is coming from someone, I do enjoy vampire films, I'm not gonna lie. I do find that I like them more than I dislike them, so it's not that I hate vampire films. As I said with like 28 Days Later, I'm not a big fan of the survival, zombie, infected type of movies. With this one, it's not that I don't like vampire films, it's just I can't get into this film in particular, but I did, however, give it a 7 out of 10 because I do think it has a good story. I do think the actors do an okay job for what they are. I'm just not too into them, and the atmosphere is pretty top-notch. So 7 out of 10 for 30 Days of Night. Thank you guys once again for joining me for this weekly dose of horror, and of course, I will see you next Friday for the next film.